That's the stirring sound of the Leicestershire Schools Symphony Orchestra, which for years has enjoyed a national reputation for excellence. But now there's talk of possible cuts and changes to the way the orchestra is funded and managed, and with the Leicestershire Arts in Education Service as a whole, in fact. Well, Carl Davis, the composer and conductor, has been speaking here on BBC Radio Leicester of the dangers in cutting music education. The service's budget is nearly £3 million. 68% of that comes from parents and school fees, but 21% comes from the government. And with savage cuts in spending by the coalition government, that means some difficult choices. Well, I've been speaking to Bridget Joyce, who's from Leicestershire County Council's Children and Young People's Service.
The issue that is exercising people's minds at the moment is the issue about government funding. There has been a review set up by the government at the end of September called the Henley Review, which is looking at the future of the use of funding for music education, and we were expecting that to have the outcomes of that at the end of December. However, we haven't yet got the outcomes from that review. At the same time, we will be expecting the announcement about any future funding from the government.
What about this idea of making music teachers become self-employed?
One of the ways in which we could help to ensure the future for music teachers is to actually ensure that the amount that parents have to pay for them is fair, but is also sustainable. One of the ways in which that might be a way of doing it is what happens in Derbyshire, where teachers are self-employed, and therefore all the infrastructure costs, which currently are, if you like, added to the costs of their salaries, there won't be any infrastructure costs.
So that's a basic cost-cutting exercise, is it?
Yes.
But the concern with that is that those teachers will go elsewhere where they're guaranteed their salary and the benefits that accrue with that. Many of them don't want to be self-employed.
Well, we're in the middle of a consultation exercise with staff, and obviously some of those issues are ones that are being taken on board, and we're looking at ways to try to make the offer as attractive as possible for staff.
Now, this consultation you talk of, so many of the parents we've spoken to had no idea that this consultation was going on.
There's been a consultation with staff, with some of the young people and with head teachers and schools at the moment. Until we've got further kind of clarification around what the offer is or what the proposals are, we haven't actually had consultation with parents directly, though they have been involved in terms of being aware of what's going on in terms of letters that have been sent to them. But
and yet all the ones we've spoken to said that they weren't aware of the situation and would welcome being part of that consultation at an early phase.
It's very unclear at the moment what the actual future is going to be. So until we've got some clearer ideas, that's when we were going to involve parents.
The trouble is parents feel excluded from it, don't they? That's the point. Irrespective of whatever the future holds, having them involved at an early stage, along with head teachers and staff and all that kind of thing, would seem to be vital.
I can see the point of what you're saying.
There seems to be a growing number of names, big names in the music world from abroad and obviously here in Leicestershire and elsewhere that are worried about the future of it. Can you say anything that would allay those fears?
My understanding is that the Education Secretary, Michael Gove, is very keen on music education, and I understand that he wants to see it flourish.
Are you convinced that will happen?
I'm reasonably certain. I don't think I can be convinced, but I'm reasonably certain.
Well, that was Bridget Joyce from Leicestershire County Council talking to me earlier. Robert Kalo is from Obi. He's a firm supporter of music education in schools, predominantly because he's the dad of Stephen, who you heard earlier on here on BBC Radio Leicester. Robert, good morning.
Morning, Ben.
Just very briefly outline why it's so important to your family.
Well, I think this is all very worrying, isn't it? I suppose, comment on two ways here. I went through the music system in the 70s and 80s. I've experienced this at first hand. We've had things like character building, confidence, life experiences all mentioned, and they are correct. It's a life-changing experience playing music with people. I met my wife playing music, and we've had two children who've gone through the music system themselves. My daughter now teaches music, having done music at university, and Stephen, as you've heard, we're all very chuffed. He's gone into the Royal College of Music, and he's done very well.
All of which couldn't have happened without the way arts is funded here in Leicestershire for children.
Not at all. One of the things that really worries me is, do the powers that be understand what they have, the real jewel in the crown in Leicestershire, how it's run, the legacy that Eric Pinkett set up in the 50s and 60s, 50 years of music making in Leicestershire we've had. And to tinker with this system, I think, could be very detrimental to everything to do with the student, music making in Leicestershire.
I mean, it should be pointed out that the reason that one of the reasons we're talking about this is that Leicestershire's School Symphony Orchestra is held up internationally as a great example of its kind. I guess, though, those that have to make the decisions are going, yes, we know it's brilliant, but the fact is we haven't got any money.
Well, I hope they know it's brilliant. That's the first thing I'd say. And how well it is received all around the country, and it has been since when I played. When I used to see the orchestra play, I think, wow, the standard of music playing. It didn't surprise me that so many did go to music college. Yes, we do understand of cuts, but it seems here that it's the system that may be cut, and that's the worst thing, the funding cuts. But to change the system completely, I don't. That's the main worry. The main worry.
But the choices are very stark, aren't they? Do we have of what money we do have available? Do we spend that on adult social care, for example, or on music for children? Arguably, some people would say, well, you need to spend it on people that maybe are more vulnerable, and if you want your children to go through the music system, you have to pay for it.
I can see that. Well, we do pay for it for a start. That's right. There's a considerable amount of the funding for it is paid for by ourselves as parents, and that's one thing that has changed since I was in it. But we do that, and we understand the reason for doing that, and the benefits that the children, the students will get out of it. Some of your callers have come in. It's the life-changing experiences and the chance to play. I've been all around Europe playing with the orchestras. I know my children have been around Europe with the Leicestershire Schools ensembles. It's something that we'll never ever forget. I still play music non-professionally in Leicestershire, and a lot of my generation before still do, and give music and also pleasure back to people in Leicestershire, because we still are playing music. And that's another worry as well. If it does start to mean that children can't continue doing music, what happens to all the music, the orchestras, the non-professional orchestras in Leicestershire?
Robert, good to talk to you this morning. Thank you. That's Robert Calo joining us here on BBC Radio Leicester. Well, as budget cuts threaten Leicestershire's bands and orchestras, the question we're asking really is, does music really matter? Well, Fiona and Iris say music is vital, especially for children. They called us earlier on.
It is important. It is. For self-esteem, especially children, it helps build their self-esteem, makes them feel confident. It does. You've got 12 notes. You hear a beat of a drum. It just does something to you. I can't explain.
I'm still hearing from my past students who are now in their 50s, would you believe?
What difference did it make to their lives, though, to learn to...
It was their life. It really was the life and soul of them. Clarinet, oboe, we had our own orchestra. Music is the soul of anybody's life. I've got my piano in my lounge. I would not be without it.